Well, thank you, everybody, and especially thanks to Samantha for using my high school yearbook photo. Back when I had hair and it was black rather than this gray stubble I presently have. And thanks as well to Real Estate Finance and Investment and an institutional investor for this great honor. And I very much enjoyed my interactions with Sam through the years, and I've always enjoyed Refi Magazine, found it a very informative read. I also want to thank tonight's other award winners, and especially the CMSA at Table 1. Been proud to serve two tours of duty as a governor, and think it's been a real credit to the industry and really taken a lot of positive initiatives. I also want to thank a few people, especially, all of whom happen to be sitting at Table 3, coincidentally. Starting with my wife, Pam, in the tan suit, for those who didn't recognize her, for all her support through the years. Jim Duca, who was my partner in running the CMBS business at Moody's for many years. Sally Gordon, who my partner in developing a lot of research analytics. And certainly, last but not least, Bob White and Neil Elkin, who are our partners in developing the Moody's Real Commercial Property Price Indices. So my first reaction when Sam called me and told me I was nominated for the award was, of course, to be flattered. My second reaction was, oh my God, she thinks I'm a fossil. So it took me about a minute to make that connection. And I started thinking about the film industry where they show the black and white highlight reels and they have somebody carry the person in and hand them the award. And I was thinking, wait a second, that's not where I'm coming from. So while I'm retiring from Moody's, I think the retirement has a small R. So I am enjoying some time off. I've had the chance to do some traveling, like the last couple of weeks in Spain and Morocco, among other places. But I really do like this business, and I really like the people in it. So I'm afraid you're going to be stuck with me for another decade or so. So you haven't gotten rid of me yet. And I mentioned to a few people, our daughter Grace got out of high school last June, and she said that after 12 years of school, she really needed a break. And my reaction was, well, how about 27 years on Wall Street? I need a break, give me a... So I'm glad in a way to have some time to, step back and think about things. And I did join Moody's in 1991, 17 years ago. And to put that in a little bit of perspective, our son Jimmy, my wife Pam was pregnant with Jimmy 17 years ago. He's now 6 feet tall. I'm still the tallest person in the family, but only by about half an inch. And I took him yesterday to get his driver's license at the DMV in Yonkers. So a lot can happen in 17 years. Maybe a few thoughts on the early days. And when I joined Moody's in 1991, it was, of course, the RTC era. A lot of banks were having trouble. And the prevailing wisdom was stay alive until 1995. And to be honest, that was my original plan, just to have a job, and then I'd figure out what the next big thing would be. So I wish I could claim to have been a visionary and 17 years ago, seen what CMBS would become, but basically I was like a lot of other people trying to have a job, and ultimately I found myself at the right place at the right time, and got to witness the evolution of CMBS from a small workout business to a large origination business. There were, of course, some challenges in the early years, and in particular, at one point, the CMBS group at Moody's consisted of two people, me and Bob Cherry, now at LNR. And the senior management was not too fond of real estate because they thought, hey, isn't that the stuff that just blew up the commercial banking industry? But ultimately, over a couple of years, we were able to build confidence that commercial real estate is a rateable security. We introduced structures like advancing and tail periods that ultimately turned illiquid loans into rateable bonds. And for the last decade, CMBS has outperformed just about every other form of fixed income. But, I think, unfortunately, as Sam mentioned, we had to raise subordination levels almost just about a year ago. Because the track record of rising prices and low delinquency rates, as that got longer and longer, we think the memories of good underwriting and credit risk management were getting shorter and shorter. And I don't think there was enough questions being asked, and now it seems evident in some other sectors as well, as to what's driving this track record and how sustainable is it. Most notably the cap rate compression of historic proportions. So I was really pleased to be part of the business in its early years to help develop the legal and architectural infrastructure. And it's funny, things that were hot topics when I first started, now are a little bit in the boilerplate. And I think we're going to see, in this environment, some of the architecture be challenged, but I feel pretty confident that the deals and the structures we put together will hold up. I'm also very proud of the quantitative tools we developed at Moody's, and I think commercial real estate is one of the more transparent businesses out there. There's a lot of opportunities to second guess rents and expenses and other things, and I think we put together tools that helped capitalize on this transparency. And in particular, Sally Gordon and I spent a lot of time together thinking through things, and it's actually a decade ago we put together Red, Yellow, Green, which is a fairly simple supply-demand balance model, and more recently commercial mortgage metrics, which has had some success as a credit risk management tool. I'm also very proud of the people I worked with at Moody's, both the people who are currently there and the many alumni scattered throughout the industry and throughout the world. And as Sam mentioned, probably of all the things I'm proud of was one of the most recent, which was identifying and then acting on the growing underwriting froth, which I actually think gives our industry a chance to make a comeback, because I think we caught it because of the transparency. We were able to catch things before they got too far. And frankly, I appreciate Moody's support in helping us do the right thing at the right time. I mean, we wound up sacrificing a lot of market share in the biggest year ever. But ultimately, I think that was the right thing to do and positions the industry for the future. So I think we clearly have some challenges ahead. CMBS I kind of view as an arbitrage business between the private loan market and the public bond market. And the bond market side, of course, has widened in sympathy with other sectors. And, it's not so competitive with portfolio lenders at this point. But I do think there are prospects for long-term success. And I think in part that's because we have a transparent business made up of small pools of large loans that allow people the opportunity to go in and kick the tires, whether it's rating agencies or others. I also see a growing role for property derivatives. One of the reasons we got involved with the Moody's Real Indices, and I think it's kind of exciting that you can take a position on where property values are headed without actually owning a property. Europe is well down this path. I think the U.S., the time has now come. So maybe just a few last thoughts. I think basically there's never been a better time to differentiate loans and deals. I think the time of the rising tide of liquidity lifting all boats is clearly behind us, and the market's about to separate, the people who were good at what they did from those who were lucky. And there's a long way to go before the commercial real estate market becomes efficient. So I think the next couple of years are going to offer up a lot of opportunities. And frankly, after I take a little bit of a break, I expect to come back as an investor in the not-too-distant future and try to explore some of them. And I'm actually looking forward to having two tools in my toolbox. As I was mentioning to somebody earlier, as a rating agency, you get one tool, which is kind of like a hammer, which is subordination levels. As an investor, you get that plus pricing. So it'll be kind of interesting to have a toolbox with two tools. And maybe lastly, I still do expect commercial property prices to decline about 15 or 20% as the leverage unwind sends cap rates back up. But I think we have a little bit of a slow motion situation. It's going to take a year or so to play out. And I think ultimately, real estate will deserve its reputation as a lagging sector. But ultimately, I think CMBS is going to survive these challenges, and I think it's an important, long-term, and durable business. And that's kind of it. So thanks again to Samantha and the rest of the team for the award.